Hello, and welcome back to the final segment of the City Straight Financial Report. We will be looking at the Summary tab and how to submit your report. Once you have finished filling in the other tabs, you may move to the Summary tab of this report. You may do so by simply clicking on Summary. Once you are on the Summary tab, there will be a variety of different boxes, and the boxes are in order of the tabs across the top of the report. First, you will have to answer if you have updated the contact information. If you have not, you will have to check mark a box, letting the report know that nothing needs to be changed or entered. For this year, since there was no incoming information and you had to put information in on the beginning page, your box will already be grayed out and check marked for you. Next, you want to look at the summary of the expenses and revenues that you entered. It will give you the beginning balance, the expenses, the revenues, and the ending balance as of June 30th of this year. This balance is critical. It will be your beginning balance for next year's report. Please review these numbers carefully. When you look through these numbers, keep in mind that these are the numbers that you are guaranteeing are available to be used on street-related expenses during the next fiscal year or beyond. This report is indicating that there's a little over $19,000 already committed from the general fund to be spent on streets. There are $790 in the road use fund moving forward. There's $10,000, in this case it was from local option sales tax, being set aside toward the future purchase of equipment. Here in the debt service column, we have a negative number. We show an expense for a bond that was paid, but no revenue. This negative number makes us think quick, we might have missed something, and the fact that there's no revenue associated with the expenses to cover the bond payment tell me that we forgot to enter something. We'll need to go back to the Revenue tab and put in the revenue that goes with this expense to make that come out the same as it did in our general ledger. We have a balance of $57,734 in capital projects. That tells me that there is a capital project that is in the works and was not completed within the fiscal year, so it will likely finish up this next year. And we don't show any revenue moving forward in utilities. So there's a grand total right now of available of $47,650, but remember, we're missing about $40,000 worth of revenue for debt service. After we've made corrections to our expenses and revenues, we want to look through the rest of this sheet and find any of the errors listed in red. We need to correct those errors in red before we can save anything on this page, so we'll want to make sure that those are completed before we start entering other information. The first red error we find is that a transfer in and transfer out totals are not even. That means we have a different amount entered on the revenue page than we do on the expense page. Please go back to those respective pages and figure out which one has too much or too little recorded. As we scroll down, the next red things we find tell us that we have an error on our Bonds and Loans tab. It says the proceeds from debt does not match our total. That means that we have entered something on the Bonds tab that we have not yet taken care of on the Revenue tab. Those totals are different. It also says that the interest payment total does not match what was on the Bonds page. So we've put something in on the Bonds page again and not correctly taken care of it on the expense page. We'll want to go back to the Expense and Revenue tabs and double check those with our Bond and Loan tab to make sure that all of those numbers are the same. Once they are, our red errors will go away. These errors are also showing up as orange boxes on the Revenue and Expense tabs as well. Once we have fixed all of our red errors, we can go back and start filling in the other boxes. Remember, we've already checked our revenue and expenses, and we're going to go back and we've already fixed that debt service issue. Now we may have various boxes. Your report may or may not have any of these boxes. These boxes are triggered by entries in very specific places within the report. If you did not enter any data into these boxes that need further information, then you may not have any of these boxes on the summary page. If you reported that you received revenue from a federal grant, we need to know more information about what federal grants were received. You may have only received one federal grant, or it may be a combination of multiple. All you need to do is enter which type of grant it was and how many dollars were received. If more than one federal grant was received, you can just keep listing them. Once you have finished listing all of the federal grants, you may move on to the next box. These boxes work the same way. If you have state grants, you'll need to let us know what the breakdown were of state grants, whether that was from City Bridge or USTEP or STBG. If you have received local contributions, then please break down your local contributions between casino, reimbursements, and donations. If you have multiple donations, they do not need to be broken out by the specific donor. Once you have finished those boxes, you may need to enter further data about salaries. The federal government is very interested in how the salaries are split up between actual road work on roads and administrative salaries for roads. The problem is that the Iowa Chart of Accounts and the way that we do payroll in municipalities in Iowa doesn't really give us a good way to track that. This is something that you'll have to use your resources, look through your payroll records, and just make your best estimate. So on this report, we entered $25,000 for salaries out of general fund and about $34,000 for salaries out of road use. If any of that was salary for your clerk, then we know that that was probably administrative salary and can enter it on the administrative line. If you have someone in the streets department or public works that is doing administrative work for the street department, filling out reports, submitting grants, then we'll need to take part of their salary as well and show it as administrative dollars. Again, take the records that you have for payroll and make your best estimate of the dollars that go toward administration versus the dollars of salary that actually are spent working on the streets. You may not have any administrative dollars to report. If you do, you will just enter them as exactly the number you wish to report. So maybe we had $2,000 in administrative salary out of general fund, and maybe that's all. The next box is going to show up if you didn't enter any dollar amount spent on snow removal. Because, let's face it, this is Iowa, and we get snow. So we're looking to see what was spent on snow every year, what the impact of snowstorms are on the budgets, and how cities are spending their money to take care of those snow removal issues. If you do not have any snow-related expenses, please enter a quick explanation. Some cities are covered by the county. The county may have a shed in their town, and they go ahead and do snow removal as they leave town and then again as they come back in. So the county does their snow removal for them. Other cities are having snow removal donated by a local landscaping contractor that goes out and does hired snow removal. So sometimes that's donated for the city. Whatever the reason, please provide an explanation. This is something that we really need to have split out from the regular road expenses. If you are currently not splitting out snow expenses from your regular road expenses, please set your bookkeeping up to do so as soon as possible. The next box says that you have turned off the auto-calculate function on either the levied on property or potentially the charges for fees and service for utilities. This box is just asking to be sure that you understood what you were doing by turning it off, and so a quick explanation is required. It doesn't need to be a long explanation, just something so that I know you knew what you were doing when you uncheckmarked that field. Again, we would have taken care of these red error messages before we started entering into the boxes. As we continue to move down, we need to answer questions about the other tabs. If you have not entered anything on the Bonds and Loans tab, this box will be open and you will need to check mark to indicate that you have no changes or no bonds to report. The equipment box is the same. If you have not reported any equipment, then this box will be open and you will need to check mark to indicate that you have no changes or no equipment to report. The project box, also, if you have not saved a project on the project tab, this box will be open and you will need to check mark to indicate that there are no projects to report this year. And finally, the payment page. If you have not been on the payment tab, you will need to check mark the box that verifies that you have reviewed the payment information and that the amount you received in payments is the amount that you have in your general ledger as received from the state of Iowa for road use taxes for the fiscal year. Once you have taken care of all of the errors in red and filled in any box that popped up, and then check marked any of the small boxes, you are ready to look at the submit box. The submit box is looking for a resolution number. You need to enter the date that your council meeting is being held with this resolution and type in your signature to verify that the information in this report, as you know it, is true and accurate. Once you have filled in everything on this page, you can save it for later. I currently cannot save it because I still have errors on this page, so it's not going to let me save anything. I can save it and close it and come back at a later time once all of the errors are gone from this page and everything is filled in. When you're ready to submit, come back to this page, review it one more time, and go ahead and hit the submit button. When you do so, the report will automatically take you back to the home page and give you your list of cities. Only your city this time will have turned turquoise. It will say pending DOT action. That means it is waiting for me to review your report and either complete it and approve it or reject it so that you have another chance to make some revisions to it. Once you have submitted your report, you cannot make any changes without contacting me first to unlock your report. When you submit your report, you will receive an email letting you know that your report was submitted. You will also receive another email when your report has been reviewed, whether it's been accepted or whether it's been sent back and needs revision. If it is sent back and needs revision, the email will include the reason for the rejection and what needs to be revised before it can be resubmitted. A lot of you like to print out your report to take to your council meetings. When you are back on this home page, you can click View Report, and under View Report it says Excel. When you do so, an Excel report automatically downloads that you can open and print for council. That report will open with all of the tabs that you have data on. It will open with a summary of expenses, and it's only going to print out the lines that you entered an expense in so that the report isn't so long and you don't have pages and pages of empty lines to hand to your council. So you'll have expenses, revenues. You may have bonds or equipment or projects. If you do, then they will be listed for the council to review as well. And also you will have the summary page, which includes the resolution, the execution date, and your signature. Some cities are taking just the summary page to council for review, and some are printing out all of the details. To print out all of the details, click one of the end tabs, hold down the Shift button, click the opposite end, and you will have selected all of your tabs. Then you may go up to File and hit Print. It's already set up in landscape format so that it will print and fit on the page. If you have any problems with printing, please let me know. If you follow those steps, it should automatically print all of those tabs for you. If not, depending on how your computer is set up, you may have to print each tab. That wraps up the street finance report. There were some places that we talked about earlier along in the other segments that I told you I would show you. They are located on our local systems homepage. You can Google local systems Iowa DOT. And when you do so, ours will be the first link that comes up. There's information being provided about the impact of the COVID-19 virus that you can find. We update it with information about the financial impact and other rules that are being impacted by the virus, and what a strange year we're having for that. So you can look that up right here at the top and click the COVID information tab. If you are interested in receiving that information via email, you can sign up for our email system. We don't send out a lot of emails to cities, so your inboxes are not going to be overwhelmed if you do sign up for this, but you will receive timely information about impacts from COVID and other things that are important to cities and city funding. Other sources that we have posted on our website, we have the bid and quote thresholds. Those are the ones from the project tab that update every year. So if you're looking at doing projects, those are important for you to know where to find. You can go to the city reports and funding page. It will tell you updates about the Time 21 payments. It will also give you the forecast for the road use fund payments. These are the forecasts that came out previously in the year. I do expect these to probably update with the COVID-19 impacts as soon as they figure out what those are going to be. It also gives you links to figuring out your payments, and for cities under 500, where to find out information about the transfer of jurisdiction, farm to market extension roads, and those funds. If you had a project that used city equipment, you know that you needed to look up the schedule of rates to know how much to charge for each of your city pieces of equipment that you used. So this is the schedule of rates, and you can find that here on this side page also. As well as being able to look up maps. Again, that goes back quite often to looking up the farm to market roads within your community. We can go through and look up, let's pull up Boone County. And if we go through and look up farm to market maps, we can pull up the entire county and see that the farm to market roads are the ones that are in the heavy black lines. So let's look up here at the little town of Pilot Mound. The little town of Pilot Mound has some farm to market roads that actually run around the exterior of that town. None of them actually go through, but they do pretty much cover all of the perimeter. Boxholm only has it running across one side, whereas Ogden has two farm to market roads that run right through the middle of town. So each town is very different with how much farm to market road they have and how much they have to deal with. So again, for a town the size of Ogden, which is definitely over 500 people, it wouldn't have any impact. But the towns under 500 certainly has a financial impact. So those are available for you to look up as well. And finally, the old link to the Street Finance Report is still here. We are working on getting that phased out and the new links put in. If you do happen to click on it, it's going to take you right to the current page. So it is also available there for you. That should cover the questions for how to fill out the summary page and how to submit the report. Again, remember, you do get email when your report is submitted. If you need to make a change to it after it's been submitted, you'll need to contact me so that I can unlock your report. Otherwise, I will be reviewing these reports as fast as I can. 942 cities, one of me, so it does take a little time for me to get through them as I do read everything in them. And I am busy doing training for most of the month of August. So I will get to them as fast as I can and get them sent back to you. If there is something that needs to be revised, you will receive email letting you know what that is. When that email comes through, your report will be unlocked for you to make that revision, or the alternative is that your report is submitted and it is approved in the form it's submitted, in which case you will also receive an email letting you know that it has been approved the way it was turned in. And that will be it for the end of your Street Finance Report year. You'll be free to move on to your other reports. If you have any questions, please feel free to give me a call. I will show you again right there under the Help tab. There is my email address and my phone number. You're welcome to contact me anytime. I'm happy to help you with this report. Thank you.